Ladies and gentlemen, right, very important discussion we're going to have now. Can Croatia become a model of sustainable tourism? We're delighted to have Tonči Glavina, Minister of Tourism and Sports, Government of Croatia. Welcome. Minister, please join me on the stage. Yeah, very good. Have a seat. Great to have this as a final session. It's just me and you. We're not going to hear a message from the Commission after all. It's good to end with this incredibly successful sector, very dynamic sector for the Croatian economy, but also one that's facing all sorts of challenges, as are all the other kind of major tourism destinations in Europe, particularly in southern Europe. So, I wanted to start with that really, about how, as you're heading this ministry, how are you thinking about how you align the interests of private businesses in the tourism sector with the need to lighten the burden on the local population and also protect the kind of what is, after all, public goods, including biodiversity and cultural heritage and the country's brand image and so on, because as we know, Croatia has very high tourism intensity, is placing a very big burden on the local population, on local services, as well as contributing to the economy in a very big way. So how do you balance those two things? Tough job, I think. Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, Joan, and I see that you have had a pretty busy day. So thank you for being so active, and thank you all for participating in this discussion. A lot of questions. I will try to kind of give you, some brief roundup of everything that was said. Croatia and tourism tourism in Croatia is extremely important. Obviously, it is the most significant part of our national economy. About 20% of GDP is related to tourism directly, and we have a strong, long-lasting tradition of tourism in Croatia, more than 180 years of that. And tourism is something that we have been through our history and that we are currently as well extremely successful. However, tourism has many great benefits to society, to the national economy, of course, in many ways. But at the same time, tourism is something that needs to be properly managed, something that needs to be properly controlled, and something that needs to be strongly directed. Because if you do not do that, then you expose yourself to all the negative consequences of tourism, and there are plenty of negative consequences of tourism. So just some of the reasons why Croatia is so successful as a tourism nation is because of our unbelievable, beautiful, natural and cultural heritage, about our way of life, about our coast, our sea. It's you will see in Croatia some of the most exciting, some of the most beautiful things in the world, and you will see history, tradition, our way of life, and you will feel when you're here that this is some very special and unique place to visit. So if this is, of course, something that in a way sets us apart, then it is mandatory for us to realize and to know that we need to properly manage that, so in a way we preserve all that for many generations to come after us, so tourism can be and is as successful 20, 30, 50 years from now as it is today, which means that you need to have a strong awareness of your values, and a strong awareness of controlling and directing tourism as such, meaning it is because of the fact that it's such a significant part of our national economy, we need to be ones from the tourism sector limiting, amongst other things, tourism. So Croatia, for many of you who are not familiar with it, has made significant strides in transforming a country into sustainable tourism destination, and I speak proudly when I say that we are recognized in the world, not just on EU level, but on the world level, that we are a country that has that is definitely one of the leaders in sustainable tourism. And I say this not because of the plans and strategy and things like that, but I'm talking about things that we have already implemented, things that are actually giving results. And there's many of those things that I could be talking to you about now, but not to be maybe too boring for some people who are not particularly following tourism, but I will just say a few things in which we have most recent actual data that we can be proud of. For example, as you know, tourism has brought or destinations with the problem of over-tourism has brought many problems to many countries and to many very important, very developed tourism destinations, destinations in Italy, in France, in Spain, and so on and so forth. One of the consequences of that, people coming out to the streets protesting against tourism and against tourists because they perceive that tourism brings, degrades their life and brings more damage to their life than good, which is, and that's the end game. Once you get to that point, you have already lost, meaning that those destinations dealing with these type of challenges will significantly cost their national economy, their tourism, to change. And they will have to change in order to bring back the tourists, because obviously as a natural consequence of that is people don't want to go there. Nobody wants to go there where they're not wanted. You don't want to be walking down the street, people spraying you with a water gun and telling you go home. Tourists, obviously nobody wants to feel unwelcome. So what we are doing now is we are doing everything that we can in order, there is not a destination in Croatia that's close to this at all. However, if you were to leave things be and just pretend like the problem doesn't exist, maybe in 5 or 10 years something like that could happen in Croatia. But we're making sure that does not happen, and this is why we have implemented a significant reform process, which means not only that we had adopted a new strategy that highlights what we're going to do, but we are actually changing a lot of legislation processes, a lot of laws and everything in order to change things around. One of the consequences of what I mentioned earlier is also cost of living, inability to people to be able to afford real estate, inability to people to have a long-term rentals and things like that, meaning that some of your destinations are just losing people. Once you lose people, especially in the case of Croatia, we believe that is one of our strongest competitive advantages is our people, way of life, what we do. Croatia is one of the unique countries in the world in which our guests are not secluded in some sort of resorts away from everybody. Croatia tourism product is that you are completely immersed into local population. Our guests are completely living together with our local population, and that's something that's actually of the strongest value when you travel. You want to experience local, you want to experience the country. So we have passed several different laws in a period of less than 6 months, and in which we have significantly changed the trends, in which not only that we have prevented opening of a lot more short-term rentals, we have actually been able now this is the first year of this reform has been implemented since January 1st of this year, and these are laws from the areas of tourism, from areas of spatial planning, and from areas of fiscal or tax. Annually we have grown for more than about 25,000 beds in this short-term accommodation, and which has resulted in just a lot of accommodation that was not being filled. So people keep building, developing something that's not really, and they're consuming the one resource that's not renewable, which is space. So to make a long story short, not only that we do not grow 25,000 beds anymore, we have actually a reduced number by 2,500 this year, meaning that we have actually transferred like more than 3,350 people from short-term rentals to long-term rentals. And this has resulted in a lot more contracts for long-term rentals in our cities, meaning there's more housing available. And we believe that in now years that are ahead of us, that's only going to significantly more increase. So that's just one little small problem. At the same time, we have now developing or has signed and executing two important cooperations with the UN Tourism, World Tourism Organization. One is that we have established the Center for Sustainable for Development of Sustainable Tourism and Research and Development of Sustainable Tourism partnership between University of Zagreb and UN Tourism, which is headquartered here in Zagreb. And the duties of this center is to share the knowledge, accumulated knowledge and information and experts that we have in Croatia dealing with sustainable tourism that we offer to our partners and friends around Europe and the world. And at the same time, we have established a new sustainability award together with UN Tourism, but award that is based on the processes that we have developed in Croatia on sustainability indicators and everything that we have now made a requirement for all of our destinations to do. And I will finish with that. So what that means in a nutshell is now we have created tools that we gave every destination in Croatia obligation to do what's called carrying capacity study, meaning that they have to, in a very specific way that is prescribed, which is actually international methodology, say what are the limitations of that destination in terms of infrastructure, parking, water, sewage, waste management, everything that pertains to basic indicators of sustainability. And if they have issues with, or they see that they're coming close to their capacity, their requirement, they need to actually limit. Meaning they need to limit the number of accommodation types, they need to limit the number of, say, restaurants, food and beverage, things like that. And every destination in Croatia is required to do this, to make this, and based on this, make these destination management plans in which they put a plan how they will execute the changes that they need to do. So it's hard to explain all of this. It's a lot of stuff, a lot of activities in just like a few minutes, but it is definitely something that is being implemented, something that's yielding results right now, and something that everybody around the world is looking and saying, okay, let's see what Croatia is doing because they're clearly moving on. So the best example of the city is Dubrovnik. We have just awarded it recently, one of the most significant awards in sustainable tourism. Dubrovnik as a city was recognized in 2017 to be one of the cities with issues of over-tourism and the recommendation to not travel there. And we have transferred Dubrovnik from being that to now on European and international level to be recognized as a destination that has most sustainable practices, that has completely changed its perception, and there's not less tourists today than there was back in 2017. It's just they're distributed differently, they're organized differently, everything that has to do with them is organized differently from different types of accommodation types, arrivals, everything, traffic, cruisers, things like that. And that is the idea of the basic thought behind sustainability tourism policy, is keep the good benefits of tourism and eliminate or minimize the negative ones.
Okay, well, thanks very much. I think you explained very well, this concept and what your government and ministry have been doing to, advance that. So yeah, very interesting. So just a question, I guess, to wrap up our talk and the whole day. So it's about the seasonality issues. Seasonality is very pronounced in Croatia. By that I mean, obviously, that it's concentrated in the months of June, July, August, particularly. And Croatia shares that in common with other countries in the region. And obviously, there's only so much that you can do. Well, there's not much you can do at all about climate. But what steps is the government and the industry taking to prolong the season? What sorts of alternative tourism are you promoting? Is there any evidence yet that can actually help, that can work?
Actually, there is evidence that it's succeeding already, as the numbers of this year actually are proving this to be the fact. So as a part of the developing Croatia as a sustainable tourism destinations, one of the key goals that you're trying to accomplish is develop year-round tourism, minimize the seasonality and create distribution of guests in time and space, meaning that you are a tourist destination across the country, not just in the coastal area, and that the guests are arriving to Croatia not just in peak season, July and August, but the rest of the year. So this year for Croatia has been historic in few different categories, but one, we have recorded historic number of arrival at overnight stays in terms of numbers, so, but not much. About 2% growth in arrivals and 1% growth in overnight stays. So meaning that we're managing our numbers pretty well. And this is kind of where we want to be. But for the first time in our history, that growth that we have generated on annual level is not generated in July and August, because actually this July and August, we actually had a little bit of guests less than we had last year, about 1.2%. Meaning that we are definitely succeeding in spreading the guests around, and the growth that we have has been generated with significant growth in pre-season by 5%, and now in post-season by 4%.
What is that, Christmas markets and
Yeah, well, Christmas market is not accounted yet for, so we still have another month to go. But the trend for the post-season is going to be the same as it was for September, October. So, which is all good things, meaning that we're succeeding in reducing the high seasonality. Now, let's speak very frankly and honest here. Croatia is a country that's on the Adriatic Sea. It's part of the European Mediterranean structure of tourism. I mean, the most dominant tourism product everywhere around Mediterranean is the holiday tourism, sun and sea holiday. And that's always going to be the most dominant product, there's no question about it. But with development of other tourism products that we have made significant strides in, which is MICE industry, which is active tourism, which is health tourism, which is enology, gastronomy, things like that, we have developed and transformed other parts of Croatia into tourism destinations. And we have a strong, concentrated effort in promoting all those things, and majority of our budget relates to developing those shoulder seasons and those other tourism products other than sun and sea or other than holiday. And we are openly communicating to our tourism sector from the day one in our third mandate of this government, is that in peak season we don't need any more guests. I don't know if you have any destination who is openly communicating to its sector and to the world, we don't need more guests in July and August. We're happy with what we have. We want to manage it, what I have, and we want to develop the pre and post season. And not only that we're communicating this, but we're following this up with our investments, with our marketing efforts, with our promotion campaigns, and with a strong focus on sustainability, which gives us the ability to maybe be at a certain price premium other than maybe somebody who is not in the same boat as we are. So we are very happy with where we are getting with these numbers, and I think it will be tremendous success if we can repeat the same numbers and same structure next year that we have had this year. Excellent.
Please join me in thanking the Minister. It's been great having you with us
Thank you very much.
And that brings us to the end of the conference. So I'd like to thank everybody still in this room for being with us. Once again, I would like to thank our sponsors and supporters. I didn't mention at the beginning Iron Mountain, Croatian Post, Henley & Partners, Telemac, HEP, GDI, Končar, Plinacro, and Janaf, and also the supporting organizations. And finally, I want to thank Nectaria Pasirivaki and her wonderful team who've worked so hard together with others in the organizations, with Domagoj as well. Juricic, thank you again for your help. I think this is our second summit. We intend to make this an annual event, and I'm sure it will go from strength to strength. So see you all next year, I hope. So thanks again, Minister. And we should have a photograph.